The anime begins by showing a scary-looking man with a scary tattoo on his body named Tatsu. That morning, Tatsu prepared a delicious breakfast and lunch for his wife, Miku, who works as a designer. But because Miku woke up late and had to attend a meeting soon, she was in a hurry to go to work, so she didn't have time to eat breakfast. Not only that, but Miku also forgot to bring her lunch, so Tatsu immediately wrapped it and rushed after his wife to give the lunch. But in the middle of the road, Tatsu was stopped by 2 police officers who suspected him because of his frightening look. The 2 policemen soon realized that Tatsu was the Immortal Dragon, the most feared Yakuza boss in the region. But now, Tatsu has resigned from the criminal world and decided to become a house husband after marrying Miku. The 2 policemen looked frightened when Tatsu reached into his pocket, about to pull out something. They thought Tatsu would point a gun, but it turned out that he wanted to give them discount coupons. The scene then switches and shows a salesman who wants to sell knives in Tatsu's residential area. The salesman intends to deceive the residents by selling cheap products at exorbitant prices. When he was about to sell his wares to Tatsu, the salesman was scared because Tatsu was carrying a knife covered in blood. Tatsu said that he wanted to test the knife's sharpness first, while noting that recently there had been a lot of fraud by salesmen selling cheap products at high prices. Because Tatsu said that with a sinister expression, the salesman became even more frightened. But then, Tatsu cooked a delicious dish using the knife and served it to the salesman. Although he was initially hesitant to eat it, the salesman changed his mind when he tasted it. The dish that Tatsu cooked was so delicious that the salesman was moved when he ate it and reminded him of his hometown. The story continues by showing a young delinquent named Masa who is an underling in Tatsu's former gang. One day, Masa accidentally met Tatsu, who was shopping at the supermarket. Seeing Tatsu's drastic change, from a very feared Yakuza boss to a house husband who hunts for discount goods and takes cooking lessons with housewives, Masa looks very angry and disappointed. But Tatsu said that now he is a house husband who protects his family in his own way. Tatsu then became angry and slapped Masa because he underestimated the role of a house husband or housewife, which he thought was a trivial thing. Since that incident, Masa has become aware and realized that Tatsu has never forgotten his identity as a Yakuza, even though at this time he is applying his experience and abilities in the Yakuza world in his role as a house husband. Now, the battlefield for Tatsu is a massive sale in a shopping mall, and the territory he must desperately protect is his family. A few days later, Tatsu was seen who was about to buy a birthday present for his wife. Because Miku is an otaku who really likes magical girl anime, Tatsu intends to buy one of the anime CDs. That night, when Miku came home from work, she was very surprised when Tatsu held a Yakuza-style birthday celebration for her. Not only that, but Tatsu also brought a cake and sang a birthday song for her.
Happy birthday to you.
Even though Tatsu celebrated her birthday with a grim look, Miku was very happy because her husband was so considerate of her, even bought her a birthday present. One day, Tatsu was asked by his neighbor to look after her son because the woman suddenly had important business. Tatsu agreed. The boy's name was Yoda, and it seemed he was afraid of Tatsu, who had a scary appearance and a scary face. Tatsu then offered Yoda his homemade cookies, and the boy became happy when he ate them because Tatsu's cookies were delicious. Tatsu then invites Yoda to play. But because Tatsu played traditional games, Yoda, who was used to playing console games, got bored and started to sulk. Yoda then saw a polycure action figure belonging to Miku and played with it. Tatsu then let it be because Yoda seemed happy when playing it. But then, Yoda suddenly fell down and the action figure was damaged. Tatsu reassures Yoda that it's not a big deal at all and invites him to bury the action figure in the yard while giving advice about the importance of learning from a mistake that has been made. The story continues and shows Tatsu's daily life as a house husband. One of them was when Tatsu started to worry about his skin wrinkling and his stomach distended. Miku then suggested that Tatsu go to the gym with discounts and free training. Tatsu and several housewives in the settlement try various free classes, such as gymnastics and yoga. After that, he and Miku decided to go to the shopping center. Tatsu, who always looked fierce, apparently attracted the attention of several visitors who then assumed that Tatsu was a Yakuza who intimidated civilians. Hearing that, Miku intended to change Tatsu's appearance by taking him to a clothing store and asking him to try some other dress styles. But it seems, Tatsu does have a scary face, so he will always look scary regardless of what style of dress he chooses. Miku finally realized that she couldn't change her husband and felt grateful that Tatsu had changed a lot since they first met. One day, while Tatsu is shopping with Masa, they accidentally meet Torajiro, a former crime lord who now owns a food truck that sells crepes. Torajiro used to be a Yakuza boss who was considered the only rival whose abilities were on par with Tatsu's. When he finally met Tatsu, Torajiro then challenged Tatsu to prove who was the best between the two of them. However, instead of challenging Tatsu to a Yakuza fight, Torajiro even challenges him to make a delicious and eye-catching dessert dish. After finishing, Tatsu and Torajiro then uploaded their homemade dessert to social media. But after 2 hours had passed, none of their posts received likes or comments from netizens. The story continues and shows Tatsu and Miku planning to buy a car. As a house husband, Tatsu wanted a car that was spacious enough to carry many people and was fuel efficient but not too big to be used to drive down narrow streets. On the other hand, Tatsu still maintains his high vigilance as a Yakuza, so when doing a test drive, he actually messes things up because he always thinks badly of people on the street, as if they were going to kill him. Because he was too worried about many things, Tatsu decided not to buy a car. A few days later, Tatsu was watering the plants on his terrace. However, unbeknownst to him, 2 police officers were watching him from a distance and thought that Tatsu was growing an illegal plant species and was planning to commit a crime. The 2 policemen saw Tatsu handing a strange package to Masa. They followed Tatsu and Masa, who secretly went somewhere and passed a lonely road route. When they finally arrived at a cafe, suddenly the policemen made an ambush to arrest Tatsu and Masa. They turned out to be celebrating the birthday of the local neighborhood chief. The package given to Masa turned out to be leaves commonly used for salads and pasta mixes, while the suitcase Tatsu brought contained a potpourri plant that he wanted to gift to the old lady. One day, when Miku came home from work, she saw Tatsu, who was at the butcher shop. Miku was secretly following her husband. Tatsu turns out to be collecting stamps from traders and service providers in the area where he lives to enter the lottery draw. He hopes to get a 3rd prize, which is a vacuum cleaner, but as it turned out, Tatsu got the 5th prize, which was an adorable raccoon doll. Tatsu was belittled for not being able to get the prize he wanted. However, for Tatsu, the most important thing is his wife's happiness, and Miku looks very happy when Tatsu gives the doll to her. A few days later, Tatsu and Miku were surprised by the arrival of Miku's parents at their house. Tatsu served Miku's parents homemade tea and snacks as a good house husband. His mother-in-law seemed very impressed with Tatsu's skills as a house husband and praised him. On the other hand, Miku's father, who doesn't understand at all about domestic chatter, tries to get to know Tatsu more by asking about his hobby. However, a small misunderstanding occurred between them. Miku's father then invites Tatsu to play catch ball in the park near the house, but Tatsu again messes with his father-in-law's goodwill to become more familiar with him. The old man said that playing catch the ball should be a place for a heart-to-heart conversation between a son and his father. Miku's father accepts Tatsu as his son-in-law and tries to treat him as his own son because he only has one daughter. In the end, Tatsu tried to play catch the ball as Miku's father wanted, even though the throw was so strong that it was difficult for the old man to catch it. However, Miku's father looks happy because now he can understand a little about Tatsu. The story continues when Tatsu is confused with the appearance of a cockroach in his house. Tatsu has done various ways to eliminate the cockroaches to make his house a mess, but the cockroach was never caught and instead landed on his body. Miku, who had just come home from work and saw this, immediately hit the cockroach, ignoring her husband, who then fainted. After that, they finally made a last resort to get rid of the cockroaches by lighting citrus-scented candles. Not long after, Christmas Day arrived. Tatsu was asked to be Santa Claus to entertain the children who live around his house. When he finally came there with a package, the children thought Tatsu had brought a present. It turned out that Tatsu actually brought delicious food for them. However, the children look happy and grateful to Tatsu, even though they are unsure that Tatsu is the real Santa Claus. Tatsu was good at doing household chores at home and good at doing part-time work in a cafe as a waiter. Even though he looks scary, Tatsu can do his job well and get a reasonable salary, which he will use to buy a gift for his beloved wife. One night, Miku, who had to work late, came home very tired. Tatsu tries to pamper Miku as a good house husband by making delicious stamina-boosting dishes to restore her energy drained from working late at night. Not only that, but Tatsu also tried to make Miku relax with foot massage reflexology therapy and made her relax in various ways. But Miku didn't like that, although she did not deny that she felt more relaxed, and her energy recovered after eating the dishes made by her husband. Because Tatsu's birthday is coming up soon, Miku plans to throw a surprise party and asks Masa to help prepare his birthday party when he comes to his house. But because neither of them is good at cooking or decorating the house, the surprise birthday party has failed miserably. Even so, Tatsu wasn't angry at all and cleared things up. Tatsu managed to decorate the room and make a delicious cake to celebrate his own birthday in no time. Miku and Masa were very impressed with Tatsu's professionalism as a house husband and praised him. After that, they gave Tatsu a birthday present. The story continues when Tatsu meets his former boss in a park. An old man who is a dog lover and has a dog named Pinky tries to recruit Tatsu back into his group. But after seeing how skilled Tatsu was as a house husband when Tatsu fed his dog with a tasty plate he cooked himself, the Yakuza boss gave up recruiting Tatsu. He thought that Tatsu was now happy with the life he was living. One day, Tatsu and Miku go on a date to an amusement park. They seem to really enjoy their date, especially after Tatsu brought out various delicious homemade snacks. Tatsu said that he had been looking forward to their date and prepared everything in advance and thanked Miku for their date today, even though it suddenly rained heavily and they had to cancel their date. A few days later, Tatsu was seen helping Yoda do his homework, but he was too serious about doing it, so Yoda became difficult. After that, Tatsu was seen drinking tea with housewives in his neighborhood, where they discuss their job of taking care of the house and family. However, Tatsu instead discusses his past when he was still in the Yakuza, so the housewives misunderstand and think that Tatsu and Miku are a scary couple. One day, Tatsu and Miku are about to enter a Halloween costume contest, where Miku is eyeing an onsen excursion, and Tatsu is aiming for a year's worth of rice supplies. They wore Halloween pumpkin costumes and served the judges delicious pumpkin cookies. Even so, they did not manage to get any prizes. One day, Tatsu and Miku pay a visit to the house of Miku's friend, a woman named Yuzuru who complains about financial problems. Tatsu then taught her how to be frugal and take care of the family's finances. However, Yuzuru complained about the large withdrawal of funds in her family's account. As it turned out, Yuzuru's husband used the money to celebrate their wedding anniversary and bought Yuzuru a luxurious gift. Hearing this, Yuzuru was very happy and touched because her husband was very considerate of her. In the evening, Tatsu and Miku watch a horror movie, but because of that, Tatsu couldn't sleep and tried various ways to make himself sleep. However, neither of these ways put him to sleep, and Tatsu was instead awake all night because of strange noises heard in the middle of the night. The first season of this anime series is finally finished. The moral that we can learn from this film is never to judge someone from their appearance, because someone who looks scary like a gangster actually has a great ability to do household chores, which is usually underestimated by many people.